Hey,
Well,
There we
hello.
go.
why, hello, everybody.
Welcome to,
The late.
but yet still great
Mm.
What?
episode of
What?
episode of.
Uh.
What we got out of it?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. We did it. Hey, next time we'll rehearse it, and then Ian will
and
make his cue.
then Chris will forget and be mad about it.
Yeah,
Listen, guys. We're still bringing you that fun, fresh, young energy of, we're playing like jazz up here. We're out here
That's right.
that's right.
creating art. This is this is this is art. This is free form talking, and it's very hard to do.
That's
Hey,
right.
Nick, you did music in college. What's
Yeah.
like the percentage of people who were really into jazz were just
Mhm.
people who didn't want to be good musicians or good band players?
That's a good question. I would say fuck you and fuck you. No, sir.
Guys,
The nerve, the gall, the gumption to suggest.
That
No, just
people in
kidding.
there are faking it.
You know what? I would say faking in the sense of it's not like fundamental like
Mhm.
jazz. It's
Mhm.
more of like just sticking with the genre of music that'll make the professors happy and give you a referral signature when you
Yeah.
when you go to a music school.
Yeah.
'Cause that's all it was. Like you're just trying to please professors to give you a referral
Yeah.
or a letter of recommendation.
I mean, it kind of be that way. Like even in a lit department, there's a certain degree of like, oh my god, Jane Austen, can't get enough of her. Yes, yeah. Like nothing against Jane Austen, but I mean,
Yeah. To be fair, like a decade went by since then that experience. So
Yes, that's been a while.
Uh,
This is
yeah, I
true.
mean, who knows? Maybe it's worse. Maybe it's better. Maybe I do know there's more game music programs, but even
Yeah.
then, yeah, it's like it's still the whole like, oh, maybe we might have someone who will talk and then you might be able to hang out and he might refer you to a maybe guy.
hmm
Oh, wow.
Well, you know what else has classical music? Shin Godzilla, which is very
Oh,
about.
it's true.
This is true, guys.
This is very true.
That's what I got out of it. Yeah.
Okay, so so Ian has a hard out at 6:30. This is gonna be a short one. We're gonna fly through this.
Oh
All
wow.
right,
Okay. There's actually a lot to talk about.
go
I
for it,
mean,
guys.
yeah. Okay, so let us get into the rising action. Everything we knew about Shin Godzilla going in.
Mhm.
Nick, would you like to start while I timestamp this?
Yeah, so what I knew going into well, this will be the third watch of the movie for me.
Mhm.
So going into it, like knowing the history behind it, and then like sort of the director Hideki Anno's relationship with Toho and Funimation, um, there's a sort of thing of like I was keeping aware of his shot choices versus like the key moments that have to happen for a Godzilla film.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Um, so going into it knowing that well, at least learning, I knew that was Shido Sagisu
Mhm.
who did the main composition for like composing for Shin Godzilla and all of Anno's work, like with Evangelion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then this is in collaboration with Akira
Mhm.
Fukube. Um, so having those two together, and then like you're having this back and forth of um, knowing that you're gonna get a little bit of the the big drums and a lot of percussion, but then also like sneaking in some guitars here and there,
Mm-hmm.
uh, which is very apparent. So, but yeah, that's what I knew going in. Yeah.
Got it.
There is a scene of note to me wherein you get heroic electric guitars, and it was
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
tonally wild. I loved it. It was
I started
it was
jamming
one.
out. Started
It
going
was
wee
a
wee.
choice. Yes.
What did you know going into it, Ian?
So I mentioned that I've seen clips of Shin Godzilla. It turns out I had not seen more than the first like bits of the first third act. So uh,
So the
lots of
movie, you didn't watch the movie.
yeah, I didn't really watch much of the movie. So we sat down, I watched it, and
Yeah.
lots of twists and turns, guys. I
Oh,
I
yeah.
basically I knew about um Godzilla's emergence in that really spooky like salamander form that he
Okay.
starts out,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and like, well, this is a dope design. I
Yeah.
like I out where it goes from there. But then all the I knew that Godzilla changes. I just didn't know the specifics. I had not seen those
Mhm.
characters till I
Mm,
saw them, which was fucking amazing. Yeah.
yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, because I remember the first time I watched Shin Godzilla in theaters,
Mhm.
I thought that was just going to be a new creature, like
Hmm.
for the movie. I thought Godzilla would show up somehow later, but it is called Shin Godzilla or True Godzilla. So, um, yeah.
I think
So
that's a
what I
good.
go ahead.
I was just True Godzilla. Like I'm now thinking about like the tone of this movie and all that
Yeah,
stuff, but like good title. It
it was a
captures the
very good
movie
time.
well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm not going to go over my whole Godzilla history again for this podcast.
You can
Mhm.
listen,
Um,
fun guys. We
yeah,
we did it.
if you would like to hear that or a small portion of it, please go check out our last episode about Godzilla Final Wars.
Hmm. Hmm.
What I knew about Shin Godzilla going in, I had watched. This is my third or fourth time watching. I'm actually not quite sure. Um, saw this movie in theaters at
Hmm.
a screening um, that wasn't good. They had the subtitles halfway cut off for most of the movie. That was fun. And yeah, I don't yeah, fuck it. I'm not gonna even realize like most of the theater experience was bad. Is what I was getting into.
They didn't even offer you like money back.
No refunds or not the shit.
Sons of
I
bitches.
think they
How?
fixed it halfway through the movie.
Oh,
I
the
don't remember
half.
how far. Yeah.
Um.
Because that was, and now we're approaching this. That was like 7 years ago. So, which
Yeah.
is crazy. That movie felt like it just came out, like not
Right.
that long ago. Yeah.
Time is a construct.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember at the time loving it, like liking it more than the legendary one. I still enjoy and have fun with the legendary Godzillas, but this I was like, oh, this is one of my favorite Godzilla movies. And now rewatching it, I'm like, yeah, this is still in my top three. I think I like it more than Final Wars.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure. Maybe because my
Mhm.
sensibilities have changed. But
Right.
You know
Final
better
Wars
now.
is a nice nostalgic blanket for me.
Mhm.
I was but a boy then. I
I
am a
was but a
man.
boy, and I am a man. I know better. I know
Mhm.
more of the world and the fear it. I and then I gotta rewatch Godzilla 1958 to see where it lands for me as well.
Mhm.
Yeah. So going in, I'll tell the Blu-ray story because I was trying to buy the Blu-ray as soon as it came out
Mhm.
for like I think I paid like $40. I think that was what it came out to
That's
Oh,
too
when
much.
released. Way
that's
too much fucking money. I remember it was one of the last years I went to AX. Just because I don't really do conventions anymore,
mhm.
except Evo, because Evo's like the fucking shit. Um, I remember going to up to the Funimation booth, asking the guy, "Hey, Shin Godzilla comes out in like 2 days. You guys have any early copies?" And the guy looked at me like this fucking vermin, like this this disgusting creature.
Fucking scum! How dare
I
you?
remember
I'm
that.
not
Yeah.
gonna fucking give you that. He didn't swear, but he was like, "No, no, we don't have the movie." Like,
You're so
I
mad.
wonder if he was being asked like a lot. So I don't know. I thought I asked real nice. Maybe
Yeah.
I didn't.
No, I remember that. I remember that exchange. Yeah. Even I was like, oh, did he
Did I just
get the
like
ass
piss
a
in his
lot
food or
or?
something? Yeah, I don't.
He was like weirdly, yeah, it was like weirdly intense. Like it was weird.
It was weird. He said, "No, dude, just wait the 2 days or something
I
like
think
it."
I think
Okay.
I described it as like it felt like you asked him after he had like a serious argument with someone.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And so
Oh
I went,
man.
all right. So I pre-ordered the thing. I don't know if the new Blu-rays are better or have better features. This Blu-ray is not good.
Mhm.
Definitely not worth the money
It's honestly the worst one.
for 40
What do you
bucks.
get for the disc,
You
guys? Like,
get the movie on Blu-ray, and then you get the movie on DVD. You can choose the scene to start on, and
oh,
it has uh English dub or Japanese with subtitles. And
Gwen,
one interview from this fucking podcast or something.
what?
Yeah, like not some.
Not the
I
director,
forget.
actors.
No, not any of the directors on some podcast about the movie. And that's
Uh,
it. That's all you got.
huh.
I think the movie was in 1080. It's not even the 4K version.
Yep.
Um, felt like it was ripped off. I felt like,
Pretty much.
well, I really am a Godzilla fan. I feel like if that's anything,
You're willing to put up with that.
I know. And then you find out later,
No, for
like
sure.
all these special features they put out online. You're
Mhm.
like, wow, that would have been nice to have on the disc. Where it's
Yeah.
like, they made a puppet from
No.
Shin Godzilla. You should go look that up. It's amazing. It looks crazy. They were gonna use that like, and then halfway we're like, dude, we can't. This thing is so complicated and crazy. Like, and it limits what the movie can be.
This is crazy. I'm
Yeah.
looking at it right now, and
Oh,
it's
you're
like
looking at it? Is it nuts?
it's like slightly larger than a human scale, maybe like a
Mhm.
7 foot, 8 foot
Yeah.
costume.
But
Holy
like
crap!
the puppeteering apparatus, right, is like this giant fucking thing. I'm like,
Yeah,
but yeah,
it's
I
very
think they were. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
it's very Ripley from the end of the first Alien. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
which
yeah.
is what I think they were inspired, like using basis
Mm.
of,
Mm,
knowing Ano and is like just taking stuff from movies.
mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, so a lot of cool features that you can see online for free, and that's cool. Would have been nice to have like a hard copy of that for
Yeah.
fucking
What?
anything if the footage was already done. But that's cool.
Whatever.
I'm sure. I haven't even looked up if the new versions have them. They probably do, man. Now you could probably get them cheaper, like than what I paid. If there's a 4K version, I might end up getting it. Anyway,
Well,
that's that. And like,
okay.
so before the movie,
Yeah.
all I heard was he had a form change, and like a new attack. Because like a
Mm,
lot of the movie had come out on the internet because it released in Japan way before the U.S.
okay.
Um, but I was trying to keep clear.
Mhm.
But that's pretty much what I knew about. And of course, like I knew Hideki Anno's work. I had watched all of Eva. I'd been up to date with the movies at the time, which I think was just 3,
Okay.
up to 3. Yeah, 3 was out. 3 was out by then,
Mhm.
and yeah. So that was pretty much that.
Okay.
Anyone else got anything else before we actually talk about the piece of media?
No, we can jump in there.
All right, let us do that with the climax. Hey.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
So I want to hear.
Mhm.
I want to hear Ian's take on this piece of
Mhm.
media quite a bit.
Okay.
As someone like, yeah, you hadn't watched the whole thing. You're still relatively new when it comes to Godzilla movies.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
pretty fresh.
and yeah, haven't made like that big of a dent, right? You've seen Final Wars. Have you seen any other ones?
I've definitely seen classic Godzilla when I
Okay.
was like high school, like
Yeah.
16. Uh, I I definitely have seen one where Rodan is the three-headed one.
King Ghidorah, or
King-
Monster X.
I've
Mm.
definitely seen one of the Godzilla films wherein Ghidorah is one of the main kind of characters fighting with Godzilla.
Mhm.
But yeah, relatively unlearned in this series. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So how'd you feel about the movie?
Well,
What'd you
so I did like it. I would say that I think, in my estimation, Final Wars I like more. Uh,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I'm going that way with it just because I kind of I think overall my experience with Final Wars is just I want Godzilla to be a playful movie, just like get we
Mm,
do the wild stuff. Um, but I do appreciate Shin Godzilla as being it's Nolan-esque. It's like, what's the most grounded version of this that we could do? What what would a government response to this kind of a natural disaster attack be like? What's the
yeah.
bureaucracy going up and down the chain of command and that kind of, and the
Mhm.
movie does focus largely in my memory like on it's mostly just people navigating how do we politically
Yeah, the
what
bureaucracy of it.
what's good, what's expedient, what's helpful, what's
How do we
that
approach this situation that has not happened before?
exactly. Um,
Where you have little to bupkis information, like at the
yes,
beginning of it, right?
and in that way, like the movie plays out really like well. So I had two thoughts in my mind while I was watching the movie. Like a
Okay.
lot of it of Fukushima, like
Hmm.
it's it's a nuclear disaster that the
Yeah.
Japanese government has to respond to, and we're figuring it out as we
Ah,
go.
and that wouldn't even be that long after Fukushima,
That
right?
was that was 2011.
Was that 11 or
Two-
12?
Yeah, March 2011. I've got it.
March 2011? Okay, so 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years, and I think that like the movie does play very much like not unlike a natural disaster movie or
Hmm.
a sometimes like with the military aspect you could see it as like oh it's like a national threat terrorism kind of metaphor as well
Yeah.
potentially but what other things stood out to me I'm going quickly I would say that the way that the defense force of Japan is talked about in the movie is super interesting to me
Yeah.
because
Okay.
they keep bringing up like well this will be the first time that the national defense force is being amassed in Japanese history to do a domestic da 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 da.
To do
Uh,
urban combat, I
exactly,
think is the
exactly.
like term. Yeah. Which,
And
by the way, most U.S. militaries don't know how to do like mega city urban combat. At least
we
that's what I've heard.
we've had a fair amount of experience.
We've had experience with urban. I'm talking like mega cities, like
Oh,
L.A.,
oh
New York.
yeah,
The
gee,
reason the reason this has been talked about lately is because this fun discussion here uh is has to do with how police are trained because
and it's
police know how to navigate mega cities
yes,
and
yes,
their equipment is as large as most, if not larger than most militaries around the world.
yes. Many American police forces in major cities do have decommissioned U.S. military equipment. That
Yes,
is the case. This is
usually
true.
just one or two generations behind.
But yeah, it's like when I go to visit my mom up
Hmm.
north where my mom lives outside of the state of California,
Yeah.
you will sometimes see like cops roll down in like those armored vehicles, like
So
two,
fucking nuts, dude.
two or three at a time, and it's like it's got the I won't name the name, but it's like it's just
Yeah.
got a small town's name on the side of it, and it's like oh, they patrol the highway from the main town all the way to the smaller towns around, and it's like, well, that's wild, mom. That's
And
wild.
then you're like, from what? What? Are,
From
what are we...
exactly, what are these armored
From
vehicles?
Godzilla.
From Godzilla? Thank you.
We in this
Oh,
small community may only create maple and dairy, but we feel that we need Godzilla readiness. Uh,
anyway, Back to the movie. Sorry for the off-topic thing. Just what is
No
this
worries.
storyteller cast? Come on, that's
Oh, yes. Yeah.
um. But yeah, so yeah, summoning the Special Defense Force, the SDF, um,
Mhm.
into Tokyo and like
And
the outskirts of Tokyo specifically.
I definitely would say that like the damage when you see a Tokyo devastation
Yeah.
scene in Godzilla, it's
Mhm.
always affecting.
Hmm.
This one did feel way more, like I said earlier, like of that post 9/11 Nolan-esque, which is
Hmm.
weird because Final Wars was '04, but it was like an anime with people in it. It was
Yeah.
goofy and kind of
Yeah.
hyper real. And
Closer to
this,
like Tokusatsu stuff because he was a Tokusatsu director.
yes. Whereas Ano Ano is going for something very naturalistic and
Mhm.
grounded.
Hmm.
Kind of makes the awful stuff feel way, way more impactful.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Uh, so when
it's
you get like,
more. Oh, go ahead. Go.
I was just saying, like the scene with the woman packing her bags while the husband is like holding the kid.
Oh, he's putting a
Um,
bike helmet on the child. I remember
yeah,
because I specifically said, "Oh, that's probably a good idea to do to a child if he's
yeah,
gonna if
yes,
you're trying to get out of a city, right?
yeah, yes.
And
But
only
like
to
that,
be taken away."
only to be having that whole building fall on them, like
Yeah.
and I don't know. Yeah, it's Final Wars had a bunch of those. Like, oh, here's the unfortunate thing, but they're jokes.
Hmm.
They're like the two
Yeah, because
muscle
you came
working at
here to
the
see
South Pole.
men in suits fight.
Exactly,
Like
exactly.
you're here to see Zilla, the CG, like the full CG monster, be
Hmm.
smacked into the Sydney Opera House and then blown up in a couple seconds to some 41. That's
Yeah,
the
that's
movie
right.
you're here for.
That's right. Um, like yeah. So I mean, just to kind of compile like the Godzilla fights or city devastation and things like that in
Oh,
general. Like I loved the evolution. I think the escalation was really interesting.
yeah.
Um, in the sense that it continues to hold the metaphor throughout. You know, it continues to be
Hmm.
like, oh well, I mean, like Godzilla is a natural disaster occurring that
Yeah.
that
Well,
we have.
no. Well, yes and no. Right?
Well,
Because like Godzilla, they say in the movie, this version of Godzilla was feeding off of dumped radioactive material.
yes, and he's all burned up and like he looks radioactive. He looks
Yeah.
like
Oh,
burned.
you know his skin texture. I don't know if you've looked this up or found out that skin texture is modeled after victims of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki attacks.
Holy crap!
That is the same. They wanted to get the same pattern of
Hmm.
burn scars that the bombs left on
Left.
people.
W- Let me ask you guys this one
Yeah.
detail. 'Cause I think this is something new Anno added to the story, and
Hmm.
it felt like very Anno-esque in flavor to me.
Yeah.
Was there's a handful of scenes where you see Godzilla's like gills develop in the early like the development
Yeah.
like mid movie, and he's just like dumping blood.
Yeah.
He, um, and also that the blood is both radioactive and like boiling hot. But like,
Well,
what did
because
you
oh,
as
sorry.
an
Go ahead.
what did you think? What did you guys think of that as an aesthetic? But go ahead. Go ahead.
I love that as an aesthetic. I think it's great, like to add just how creepy and like gross that creature is, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
also to give it more of like it feels early in development of like a creature, which they like explain that it's he evolved into a smaller like organism to keep cool, like
Hmm.
out of like the radioactive stuff he ate.
Yeah.
And the blood itself unleashing on the city streets,
Yeah.
which break into that underground driveway tunnel. It's
Yeah.
such a good scene, by the way. That scene is so fucking good.
Yeah.
There's something about horror in daylight that always gets me, like disaster videos, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe because, and this is, I've thought about this a lot. Maybe because I grew up around, post 9/11, and then all
Yeah.
domestic terrorist attacks that would happen by in-home threats by just dudes who
Yeah.
live,
Just who
and
have
seeing
very
stuff on. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
and guns. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and seeing stuff on camera footage. So it always
Mhm.
hits home for me whenever I see that. Yeah, but they do explain the blood letting out is his cooling system. Like that's how he cools off. It really is liquid, like if you have a PC, it's a liquid cooling system
Mhm.
type deal, but blood.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
is so there's an explanation for the detail too, but it's just like to add to the grossness of this early design.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so anything else for because I have some thoughts about what you've been saying.
Go for it, guys. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Go ahead.
Okay, so early on, the first act, right?
Mm,
Godzilla's first tread on the ground
mm,
in his pre-transformed state is shot very like frantically, like the cuts are hard.
yeah.
They're they jolt you back and forth. It creates this like, and especially with the dialogue, this frustration with
Hmm.
the bureaucracy and like what people are doing and all the meetings they have to have in order to
Hmm.
make a decision.
Hmm.
There's straight up like three cuts where they start in the prime minister's room and then they go to a different conference room to make a decision and go, well, we can't make that decision here, we have to make it in the prime minister's room, and then they go
Yes.
back to that
Yes.
same
Yeah.
exact room, and it's almost comedic, like,
It it
or
is.
like maybe because on my fourth watch and I have a real, I have a like I guess thesis or like hypothesis on, no, it'd be like a thesis for writing um on what this movie is like about or getting at,
Hmm.
uh just like how frustrating that is that you're watching these people, they have to go back and forth, and then the characters are even like, oh, we got to do this meeting and then we got to go here to do the meeting, and then one of
Yeah.
them responds to that by going, well, this is how democracy works
Hmm.
and how we keep it democratic,
Yeah.
and working with that. And it's weird because, and we'll get to it when we get to what we got out of it, like section,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Because it's a nationalistic film. It really is.
Very much so.
Uh, in its like attempt to be hopeful about the future for
Yeah.
like the next generation, because it is a frustration with a lot of older policies and older ways of doing things. It's why like all the young people and the underdogs and the people on
Mm.
the fringes of like who are still part of the system
Yes.
but are considered like crazy or enigmatic, right? Like,
They're rocking the boat too much.
yeah,
Yeah.
they rock the boat too much, but damn it, they're good at their job, so they're still part of the system. But they're
Yes.
going to be the last line of defense type deal.
Yeah.
They're not the decision makers until there's no more decisions to be made, right?
Right.
I Yeah, so I love that whole beginning sequence of the movie. I love the creating this frustration in the bureaucracy where nothing's happening except old dudes are talking.
Yes.
And very and great delivery sometimes. Like
Mm-hmm.
again, that's got this almost dry, like sardonic humor compared to people having like literally on their cameras
Yeah.
shots of Godzilla. Which, by the way, they must have amazing film cameras there because they're like movie level quality, but it's supposed to create that feeling of these are people shooting it,
Yeah.
and one of them's like streaming the disasters and all that, and like
Mm.
as these people are making choice or not making decisions fast enough and not doing it fast enough,
Mm.
Tokyo's being destroyed. The monster is ravaging through city, and you
Yeah.
just get that cut of, oh, he's already in and is overflowing the river
Yeah.
that runs
Yeah.
right through Tokyo.
Yeah. That boat shot,
Yeah.
amazing. I loved that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It looks really like Jesus, just that dude running uphill, like just to put it on like the little pin in it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where where again it somewhat comedic as it is horrifying.
Yeah,
At
yeah.
least I found it.
It is a like I definitely see like the black humor of like
Yeah.
how bleak it is. It is um especially when we get to the devastation that comes with the blast later,
Mhm.
like the twin blast, like
Yeah.
man, it's so cartoonish and over the top that at least watch it for me watching it, I kind of did fluctuate between like Jesus Christ, this is brutal. This is
Yeah.
terrible. And also like this is wild. This is so over the top and
Mhm.
ridiculous. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Any more, Nick? Any thoughts on the intro? Because I'm gonna keep us moving. I'm looking at the time here.
No, I mean, I guess I'm trying to add what you guys already talked about. I mean, yeah, from the beginning part of it, focusing more on yeah, on the human side, within, like you said, having the cuts of all this footage, and then yeah, it being kind of jarring. That's uh, not really. Yeah, it's like too high quality to be an actual phone or like
Yeah.
camcorder.
Well, cameras
Uh,
have gotten really good, right? But I wonder for 2016. You know.
right. Yeah. Good point. No, that I really did appreciate like all the scenes of like the tunnels and doing that.
Hmm.
That was really interesting
Yeah.
immediately. But I think
Um.
yeah, the more of the shot. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I say yeah, more of the shots, more of the auto shots of like all the constant rack focusing of like, oh well, I'll focus on blur this guy and he'll talk, on blur this guy he'll talk, and the guy in
Yeah.
the foreground is gonna talk to the guy in the background, and I
I
think it's like
know.
really, I always love it. It's really cool.
Just the
Very
things people, the hoops people have to jump through in order to get information across
Hmm.
mhm,
and decisions
That was
made.
great. Yeah.
So let us talk about two blasts, because that is integral to any part of a Godzilla film.
mhm.
Is what did Godzilla do in this movie? What did you think about the first, like? Okay, so Godzilla goes back into the water, right? We
Yeah.
don't know
Hmm.
it's Godzilla yet. If you're just watching a movie and you don't know anything about the
Mhm.
movie, comes back and you just see it on the distance, that tall tower
Yeah.
of a monster
Yeah.
just coming your way. What do you think about the design when you first saw it, or those shots?
Nick?
Oh no, oh I was starting with you, Ian.
Oh, okay. I'd say that like that first design when we see like well I was tripped out because I think when we see him coming up we see like his hands are actually growing like in
Yeah,
real time. He's
yeah,
going from little chicken nugget nubbins
yeah.
to T-Rex hands.
Hmm.
Um and then we get that fantastic. I don't know if that's evolution 2 or evolution 3. The
They call
scientist.
it 4 when he is the actual, like, the Godzilla you see on the poster.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, number 4, evolution 4, where his jaw unhinges like a goddamn praying mantis.
Oh, it's so
Uh,
cool. Like the Predator
yeah,
suit.
and he lets that for. And I also like that the first blast he does. I mean, like it, it's consistent throughout, but
Hmm.
they do building out the logic, building out the ideas. So it's like
Yeah.
Godzilla's first blast is hot air, then fire, and then focused into the beam we know.
Yeah.
Uh,
The beam
and then
being brand new, never done in Godzilla before.
yes,
Undone in Anno stuff.
and then the double beam man. Wow, that's the thing that's never been done, right? That
The beam has never been done, and then the back stuff has never been done, and the double beam.
I loved the design when he's getting like different colors, like violet and
Oh
red
yeah,
and blue.
yeah. Just to
It's
match
beautiful.
like heat, like
Yeah.
how hot and radioactive he is. I Okay, so when I first saw this design, because I saw the poster for this movie, I still want like a full poster for Shin Godzilla because I love it so goddamn much.
Hmm.
Of just the eye and the silhouette.
Yeah.
I At first I think I didn't like it. Like I remember that because I was like, it was so different from Godzilla that I knew.
Right.
But then it like really grew on me and like made me think, yeah, this movie's maybe gonna be different. Like it looks like a horror monster.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
looks like, and it matches what Godzilla is in this movie, which is a force of nature, which is
Yes.
a product of like human negligence when it comes to the environment and like
Hmm.
forgetting about the use of nuclear power in the war, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Nick, what did you think of the design before we get into the attack?
You know what? Design wise, it's my favorite one.
Oh,
I
It might,
think
it's up there for me.
the more I look at it, the more I'm just in love that they're willing to do something or like really wanted to just make something that is just the most extreme of the damages of nuclear yeah, just be like this violent thing.
Mm-hmm.
That was fantastic. Just love the mouth especially, and
It's so cool.
the dorsal fins are incredible.
And when you
Like
get
you
a
said with
look
this,
into the mouth and the rows of teeth are like a flower and like a ring, it's
yeah,
nuts.
so freaky. Yeah, I love it. I just love that gnarly design. Yeah,
Same here. No, there's shots in there that like I remember being. It felt like being a kid again
yeah.
in the theater, just watching this huge thing on screen and
Where
being
you
yeah.
like
just
feeling power from it, like
and you
like
look at
feeling.
it,
Okay,
I was like, yeah, no, totally. And you look at it, and you're like, just like, what the hell am I looking at?
yeah,
Like, you're trying to figure it
it's
out.
terrifying. It's horrifying. That
Yeah.
shot with the tail barely swinging over the houses. Oh,
Hmm.
it's so good. I think that was in the trailer because they knew how good that shot was. Like,
Yeah,
um, yeah. Then we get to the attack, right?
Yeah.
And the way I always view it, it's like an exhaust almost.
Hmm.
Like it's like exhausting all this energy. And I think they mentioned he's like been taking up so much nuclear energy now, it's gonna have to like leave at some point.
Right.
Which is why it kind of goes dormant after the attack. He overexerts himself,
Hmm.
or now he has to build up energy again, right?
And it's like
Uh
he had so many days, 12, 14 days, something like
yeah,
that.
something crazy. Like yeah,
Yeah.
2 weeks
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
what they got. But yeah, the exhaust from the smoke looks great as it floods like the city
Hmm.
into the fire, and it's like it looks like almost like napalm,
Yeah.
where that fire looks like it's just gonna coat and cover everything,
Hmm.
and it goes so fucking far. It stays low because it's heavy and like
Hmm.
oh, it's so into the beam, and the beam was like that's Chris in 2016 jumping out of his chair, going, "That's the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen," like on screen for Godzilla.
Mm.
Dude, it was so fucking cool. And then you get the beams out of his back as a deterrent
Yeah.
for like aerial
Yep.
attacks is so rad.
Like
Uh
like an angel
oh, sorry, go ahead.
field that he can sense the missile coming.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
has like some yeah, they say he has some radar thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so before we'll just jump to the ending. I can write like a whole essay about this movie and what I think it's saying
Sure.
about our relation to the government, like bureaucratic handling of disasters and the people who get left behind, right? Um
Yes.
but let's like we're running low on time, so let's just get to the I want to talk about two things.
Mhm.
I want to talk about the ending and I want to talk about first the Americans
Oh, I
portrayed in
will
this
read
movie.
you. Yes.
Okay, what did you think? Where do you want to start with that?
Just to say my thoughts on the Americans, especially Kayoko Patterson, the
Yeah.
envoy. Like, there's a scene with her and Rando, played by Hiroki Hasagawa.
Yeah.
So they have an exchange that really stuck with me because I was like, oh, that hashtag commentary
Yeah.
was he said that like the Japanese are very uncomfortable with Kyoko because she's so young.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and
uh-huh.
then the only defense is that they have like this dialogue where they're like, well, yeah, the Americans promote based on meritocracy rather than who's been there longest. So I
Uh-huh.
guess they know what they're doing, or some line like that is in
Yeah.
there.
Yep.
And they call it admirable, I think.
Yes, yes. So
Which I would
that,
argue
that-
is not true.
I mean,
as
true.
as someone who lives here.
No, we live here, but I think that definitely Ano is feeling frustrated with like nepotism. Like that's a
Yeah.
straight up nepotism in the
Yeah,
government.
it's more of a commentary on the Japanese than a Japanese
Yes,
government than us, or like the
I
U.S.
agree.
government.
I agree. I agree.
Which again, I could. There's that paper that I could write about this movie, right? Like
Yes.
Ano's weird frustration that may or may not be quite libertarian, but maybe I got to think about that some more.
We got to talk more about that sometime. I want to hear about that story. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I don't know his own personal thing. This is just based on the movie.
Okay.
Like what I think
Okay.
about this movie.
No, because you know.
I know,
No,
I
you
know.
know
We talk about electrical poles all the time and how much he loves them.
that guy, Ron Paul. He loves Ron Paul. Favorite guy.
Fucking. Oh God. Okay. Yeah.
Uh,
So I don't know anything about Ano's actual thing, but
sure.
I'm thinking about like the context of this movie. But
Mhm.
okay, so Kyoko, right? I remember when they said when she's like, "I'm gonna be the U.S. president,"
Yeah.
and everyone in my theater laughed.
Oh, really?
Uh, yeah.
Oh,
Which I kind of chuckled only because I know the like rules for
yes.
the being a president, and I don't think she qualifies.
Yes, you have to be born in the United States,
Y-
I believe. I don't
She and
think.
I think she is
Oh, okay.
technically,
Okay.
though you wouldn't tell by English obviously being her second language. Uh,
Yeah, that that did catch me out a handful of times where her I kind of thought they might have ADR'd to make the
I
enunciation a
also think they did too.
yeah.
Like, I'm not sure. I wish there was features on how they
There's a
did that.
quote I'll throw out from the actress,
Yeah.
Sato. She did say, quote, my character has English heavy dialogue and sometimes it's so frustrating I just want to cry. So
Oh fuck, dude, that sucks.
yeah.
It's so
Well,
weird, yeah.
yeah.
They should have
Uh
just gotten someone who was actually bilingual.
yeah, yeah, instead of this poor girl. But
Yeah.
go ahead. What was your other big idea that you wanted to
Oh, the
come up?
Japanese, the English are nuclear bomb heavy,
Mm,
like
mhm.
ready to go, raring to. They just have a fucking big old boner to go to throw out that nuclear bomb, right?
Bomb it.
Hmm.
Can we bomb it?
There's really a moment where they see the thing happen on TV, like their first plan, and then
Mm,
the Americans walk out, and then they are going, the nuclear option is what we're going with,
yeah,
like is
yeah,
our only means, and then that the Americans are the ones who are creating the hard timer of 2 weeks
yeah,
nuclear option. It's only France who,
Hmm.
uh, as part of the Geneva Convention, has always like has tended on the more has tended on nuclear disarmament.
yeah, yeah,
If I remember my history correct, I could be totally wrong in the past 10 years, but uh, that helped delay the UN sanctions for that.
mm,
And oh my god, there's just that shot, dude, that I always think of when I think of Shin Godzilla and the way Americans are portrayed in that movie. And it's
hmm
the three guys at the White House who each get
yes,
their own window with the curtains and they're talking to each other,
very good.
like not looking at each other, just out onto the fucking, assumingly the White House lawn,
Hmm
like going, yes, yes, the nuclear bomb. Like, it's so fucking hilarious to me. I don't know if he's trying to make that scene serious or not, but I can't take it seriously. So I want
Let
to give
me.
him the benefit of a doubt and say it is like it's
I
almost
I
cartoonish. Like,
I don't know if you guys feel this. When I saw that shot, I
yeah,
immediately thought of the end of Eva, like the
that's what I also think.
that. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like
But
if
people don't talk like that. When
Hmm.
and like, especially government officials, they don't
hmm
each get a window
no,
out to the lawn and are perfectly lighted like that.
you know. I really wish that they had decided to do set design and just do a reshot of that thing from End of Eva. Do a giant pendulum that for some reason fucking swings
That
through the
swings.
room 3 times.
Oh, I mean, it's probably stuff like, isn't there a shot where Bill Pullman's character in, maybe I'm misremembering this wrong, in fucking Independence Day where he's looking out a window talking to someone?
I
I
I
swear,
believe.
I think Otto just took it from a movie. Like,
Yeah, I see that.
That's
I
all I can
believe it.
think of. But there's only one guy doing it before he gives a speech.
Yeah.
Looks directly at the characters and instead made all three characters look out the window.
It's 3 times as good, guys. It's 3 times as good now.
It's so funny. That scene is so goddamn funny to me.
Very
Uh,
good.
again, comedic moments where I'm not even sure if I'm supposed to be laughing, but I am. Like, okay, so let's talk about the ending. Looking at the
Okay.
time
Mhm.
here,
All right.
I apologize to the audience. I wish we had more time to really get into this again, but I think if I did, I can keep this podcast going for like 2.5 hours, like something crazy.
Easily.
Um,
There's a lot of very potent political stuff that is being talked about in this.
yeah,
Definitely.
especially when you're looking at like bureaucratic frustration. Like,
Yeah.
boy, does it! It's almost like that movie's screaming at you, in
Yeah.
those scenes. Okay, so we get to the ending. What'd you all think of the solution to get rid of Godzilla?
Um, I I was about it. I liked it. I think
Yeah,
that it fit my reading as Godzilla being like like Fukushima. It is a municipal issue that we have to like get the pumps out, and we all work
yeah,
together to basically clear out this radiation waste, and then like statuize Godzilla basically. So
yeah.
they
They freeze
is
him.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I was about it. What do you think, Nick? Like I felt like it was an earned ending, certainly. Uh,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's tough because that ending is both conclusive, and then it leaves something there that was like kind of waved off in the beginning with the
mm,
tail.
Oh, his asexual like
yeah,
reproduction being able to spread like across the world.
Yeah, making babies of himself,
yeah,
which appear to be xenomorphs, essentially.
They look so
Uh,
fucking cool at the end. It's crazy you don't get to see more of them.
yeah,
yeah.
they're like bony xenomorphs. Like they're not like full on.
Yeah,
That's kind of weird. But
I
yeah,
remember first like when I first saw that in the theater, that shot of the tail as the last shot of the movie.
yeah,
Mhm.
I forgetting about the whole asexual reproduction like plot line or like
Yeah.
piece of information, and just being like, "The fuck is that? Is there gonna be another? Is there gonna be another one?"
yeah, it's fucking
Um,
crazy.
but yeah, no, and then it's that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, Nick, to cut you off. Please keep going.
No, but that's the thing. There's so much to talk about. It's really dense and it's
Yeah.
Ano style.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, but taking away from it all, like rewatching it again, like yeah, now being more aware of the asexual plot line.
Mhm.
Now instead of being shocked by the sheer fucking imagery of that tail,
Yeah.
um, and the implications. I will say that's why the Godzilla movie I've ever seen that had like the most cliffhanger of of a story.
Yeah, yeah. Most are pretty conclusive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the closest I can think of is Singularity Point, but that is just because they really did think they're gonna have another season.
Yeah, they thought they were. I think they were contracted for like another one.
They sure
Mm.
were.
And that's
Uh,
well, if it's still happening, I don't think it is, right?
no,
They
Netflix don't like
canceled
you.
it.
So, fellas, I know that it's not normal for another, uh, Godzilla. It's not normal for a director to get another crack at a Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
Um, so, what do you guys think of Anno choosing to end it? That would be more or less, in my mind, him saying, "Oh, ambiguous ending is the most realistic one. That it's like a threat we have to just stay on alert
Yeah.
for forever."
So rewatching it a few times now, and now that we're like 8 years out, right,
Yeah.
since that movie came out,
Yeah.
I kind of view that ending. I view that ending a lot more as like how close we were to the worst case scenario
Mm,
in that whole situation, which was the asexual like reproduction of Godzilla and like the spreading of all that, and
Mhm.
how
yeah.
nightmare those creatures looked, and us not knowing
Yeah.
Yes.
what potential they held. I viewed it as more of that we came close to
Yeah.
it, and it plays off of more of like, yeah, this Shin Godzilla is a reminder, right?
Mhm.
It's an environmental punishment.
Mhm.
Um, well, it's our punishment for treating the environment that way,
Mhm.
Right.
just dumping shit into the ocean, dumping the
Yes.
worst material, the most hazardous materials we can make
Mhm.
into
It,
into the ocean.
Yeah.
And being careless, like forgetting forgetting about like sins of the past and all that, because they do
Mm.
mention World War II throughout this movie, which Nick pointed out. And I was like, oh yeah, no, because it is weird when Japanese media does talk about World War II,
Yeah.
specifically the aftermath, like
W-
not
Well,
just what the bad things that happened during it, but I mean like how they handled post-war.
Mhm.
right.
Uh, you don't get a lot of it in media because the government's not big on people talking about it.
Sure.
So
Sure.
when it does happen, it's always
I
like jumps out to me.
I did think Kyoko's comment, like she has one of the more emotional kind of conversations where she does say
Yeah.
something like, "I don't want to think about Americans dropping another nuclear bomb
Mm-hmm.
on the country of my grandmother, et cetera, et cetera."
Who lived through it? Like,
Who-
yeah, putting a point and like that wasn't that long ago.
No,
There's
no,
colored photos. Like, there's not.
yeah,
Uh, that's not that long ago in the human when you consider humans' time here, right?
yeah, absolutely,
So,
yeah.
yeah. Again, I
Mm.
could go into all that too if we had a little bit more time. But as Nick, anything more to say about the ending before I give like my quick thoughts?
Yes, please.
Well, I mean, it's weird because like music wise, it's probably the most straightforward out of all of like Shido Sugisu's
Yeah.
work, but it has to be. It has to be because like it's Godzilla. Like it needs this key moment to happen. It needs to sound like this when Godzilla's quote unquote defeated and all that.
Mhm.
Um,
And it
but
really
you
is like
still,
an underdog story, like for solving a solution, right? Or
yeah,
Mhm.
solving a problem.
yeah. It's so weird because like in that department, I'm not sure how much there is to actually say
Mm-hmm.
about the music in that regard. The interpretation of Akira's music, I actually really, I so appreciate it. And yeah, like we all mentioned the guitars and all the instruments
Yeah.
of these
Yeah.
moments because I was telling Chrissy in that
Mhm.
I did realize, oh, this is a save the cat story, like story
Yeah.
structure. They're
Mhm.
literally it literally stops, so now they have to have a new plan and dig deeper, and then
Mhm.
now they have to with their new plan get the gang back together.
Yeah.
Um, it
Yeah.
it's just like, and then knowing that, I'm like, yeah, that explains the music a lot because there's this like C section essentially, like this third section, and all the music is now. Oh, now we can add like new instruments and add a guitar, and like, oh, now it's the same but different now, and because now
Yeah.
we're more determined, and it's like the rag team.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, that I mean, again, the ending is like the most of it concludes, but then it leaves a cliffhanger for a Godzilla film.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And this is yeah, again, still Shin Godzilla. It's like I love it. It's just like there's so much to think about and talk about out of all of them.
Yeah.
I would argue there's more there's more to think about in this film than in the '50s one,
Mhm.
um,
Wow.
because now there's
Yeah,
the
I'd have
added
to rewatch it.
context of like uh,
The
with
wounds
the
were
young
fresh
wounds
when
were
that
fresh.
movie came out.
Yeah.
It only
Yeah.
been like 14 years.
Yeah, it's definitely that one's definitely
People's
the most.
parents were still
Uh,
like rocking, right? Like,
yeah,
oh, I'm sorry.
yeah,
Keep
definitely.
going, Nick.
No, I'm saying
Well,
yeah, absolutely. Like, I would say just because now there's the added layer of like the generational thing
Mm-hmm.
and America and their views on war and the French and
The
like
German. Yeah.
Germans.
the
Like,
Chinese, Russians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah,
it's a
no.
good monster movie.
Yeah, it really is. So third, I already gave the big. I think the most interesting thought I had was about
Mm,
the what I thought the final shot is now compared to when I
Mm.
saw it, as like I don't view it as much of a cliffhanger anymore.
mm,
Mhm.
More as like how close they came to the worst case scenario. The other, I really like the solution. I think it's cool. It's very much like, yeah, people, the smaller like government doing their thing.
Mhm.
The the like Tokyo using its resources as opposed to
Right.
national stuff like that. Thinking outside the box, I think seeing it all pulled together is really satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
And having the laser come out of the tail and people going like, "Did we know we could do that?" For a scenario is like, yeah, it's still funny.
Yeah.
I think that was great. I think it's a great like, just it really shows that this movie is 2 hours long. It doesn't feel like that as you're going on.
Yeah.
Everything Ano isn't one to waste time unless, and even when it's slow in some parts, it feels very perfect. Like it feels like you're supposed to be like frustrated or in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Not that like anything wrong with slow movies. I mean more like everything feels so
Deliberate.
leading into the other,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You really are watching this timeline go through.
Mm-hmm.
And you're keeping up like every step of the way with these characters. So
Mm-hmm.
it's satisfying when you see that plan play out, right?
Mm-hmm.
As you're
Definitely.
talking about, yep, that's everything they talked about beforehand, how they would go about it,
Yeah.
seeing the plan go about. And it really does feel like, yeah, this is the only way to handle this situation.
Yes.
Because we did the obvious military thing.
Yes.
Which is very different from the legendary Godzillas,
Mm-hmm.
which are, I don't know if you guys know this, is very like heavily funded by the U.S. Army, which is why the
No.
Army is portrayed super well in that movie, and you get that shot of Godzilla fighting alongside them
Oh
at
no.
some point. I hated that shot so fucking much. Like, oh, that part of the movie rocks me, dude. I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
As someone who hates that kind of shit, but like, yeah, yeah, like I love that ending for that movie. So let's move on to the falling action.
All
All
right.
right, what'd you get out of it? What do you all think? If you could sum it up, what'd you got out of this
Please, Nick. What did you get out of it?
movie?
America bad.
Mm-hmm.
Japan could be better.
Mm-hmm.
French help.
Mm-hmm.
Germans are kind of cranky, but they help anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then the young will eat the old people apparently.
good. No.
And hopefully, I
We
guess
need some younger
maybe
blood in politics.
maybe
Although
the
you're not
tiny
prime minister until 10 years, you gotta be a little older. Be a
That's
little
right.
yeah
older.
Yeah.
Wait till your 40s.
Get old.
cultural. I always call it cultural tenure in regards to that.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
so yeah, maybe the tail creatures will eat the old people. Who knows? Um,
That's a
I
pretty good
what I
interpretation.
yeah I
I feel
think I saw the movie. Yeah, that was cool.
like. uh, well, how can I? Like I said, I feel like I can and I probably should write like a whole essay about this
Might as
movie.
well.
What I think going out of it, because I really think about each line of dialogue as it's happening.
Mm.
There is this frustration with the bureaucracy of it all to handle emergency
Mm-hmm.
situations.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not that's actual war, I know that's different, especially when you're doing long haul stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But in like immediate situations where decisions have to be made quickly, you literally get in line with like the PM going, "Do I have to decide right now?" That's actually
Right.
really funny in how he delivers it. I love his delivery in that line. It felt so human to me. Like it felt like so compared to
Do
all
I?
the bureaucracy I'd been seeing at the time. You see this like old man just being like, "Are you, yeah, right now," or like, "You have to do it right
Think about
now."
it.
It's very much frustration with it all, but still like hopeful
Mm-hmm.
of the future of
Mm-hmm.
people who see the problems and are trying to correct it.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, in a way that maybe it leads to very dangerous lines of thinking where government should make a lot of decisions without people's knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Or rash decisions. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just lucky that they're right, or the movie's written in a way that they turn out to be right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's something to definitely take into consideration. But also, like, yeah, it really does reflect like the frustration with that with older generations, and we're
Mhm.
still reeling from their mistakes, and
I
they're not letting us correct them, type deal.
I
As
think
a more
that's
universal feeling that I'm getting.
I think that's probably the big takeaway I had
Yeah.
was largely around like it's not just that the older generation has led us poorly. It's
Yeah.
the older generation will stubbornly continue to make things worse
Yeah.
until we have to step in and do something.
Until
Uh,
like they run out of options.
yeah,
And in some cases are wiped out. Like
yeah,
by their own ineptitude.
yes, yeah.
It's crazy. He really treads this line of like really criticizing the state of it all, but
Yes.
is also showing them with honor and dignity. Because
Well, yeah.
I think it's just so he doesn't get the movie shut down. But it
Well,
does make it feel realistic too, and how they
there
would
was
act.
there was one line of dialogue that our main character Rando has that did also jump out at me, like worth mentioning in that
Yeah,
exchange we're having, where he chides some member of the military, I think, for saying like, "Don't make these presumptions. That's what the Imperial Army did, and
yeah,
it's what happened to them, etc., etc."
yeah. Yeah, no, it's like again when you're really following that like the frustration with the bureaucracy of it all.
Yeah,
Like that movie's like screaming at you at some points.
yeah, yes.
Um, and that's just a more general takeaway from it. I can get into a real specific like if I wrote that thing, I think it would be a lot more
Mhm.
specific as I like explored because I don't think it's a generally all good uh
Mhm.
line of reasoning
No,
as I pointed out, like it can lead to some very rash decisions where people
yeah,
have a lot less control of their own actions, like or have things thrusted upon them out of rashness, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Having said that, as a Godzilla movie,
Mhm.
I love it. I love this movie. Like this is probably my favorite Godzilla movie.
I get you. I
I
feel
think
that.
it's so. I just entertained the entire way through, much like Final Wars, but in a very different way.
Yes,
I think the
very
dialogue's tight.
yes.
I think it's got something to say, like much like the 1958 movie.
Hmm.
Um, leaves me a lot to chew on. I think about these scenes a lot more than
Hmm.
most Godzilla movies. Like these just pop into my head, and I go, "Yeah, what about this from like this angle?" Right?
Yeah.
I think some of the shots in those movies are so fucking cool. Anytime they follow like machinery, the
Mm.
laptop shot's great.
Yeah.
Uh, all the shots of Godzilla are so fucking cool to me. Like I get like giddy seeing Godzilla like every time. Just seeing all that fucking monster on there.
I
Mhm.
feel
Uh yeah. No, I like this movie a lot. I really, really do. It's up
it's
there
a
for one of my favorite
mile
movies.
definitely. It's definitely it's a I agree with you. I think one of the best things about it is a very thoughtful movie. It's like
Yeah.
one of the more thoughtful movies I've watched in a while. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it's crazy, like in a Godzilla movie, like because usually it's
Yeah.
about aliens or like spies, if you, especially in the show era, like,
Yes.
not knocking those out because I really like show era Godzillas too, but it is so different of a take and it's very refreshing. I
There's no
like it
Matrix.
more than the legendary Godzillas, and I don't even. It's not even that I don't. It's not even that I dislike the legendary Godzilla movies. I actually enjoy them,
Hmm.
but this is like, oh, the legendary Godzilla movies don't even touch this for
I
me.
feel you. I get you.
And
Mhm.
it's a way better movie. Yeah. How'd you all feel about this as a Godzilla movie and the limited things you watch before we get into the denouement?
Sure.
Uh,
Uh
Nick, how'd you feel
Oh,
about this as a
just to
Godzilla
say,
movie?
yeah, I think that, especially with kind of like what you said of it just being this constant like entertainment, but also like it's just in terms of set piece, yeah, like action wise, it's one up in itself
mhm.
in concept and idea.
Yeah.
Like the fact that this is a Godzilla with three forms, no, it kind of like 5 technically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And each one just builds off each other in the most honest way possible, and you get the exact shot of Ava Unit 1 in there, walking
Yeah.
from the explosion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I
like
didn't even get into all the references, man. Like, there's so
again,
many in this movie.
so much to talk
Yeah.
about. Yeah.
They even do the Godzilla aftermath monologue.
Mhm.
Like, where does mankind go from here? Like after
Yep.
that
Yes.
thing. Sorry.
Yeah.
Keep going, Nick.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because looking back on it and rewatching now, it is my favorite Godzilla film.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Okay.
top to bottom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right below that would probably be because Final Woods is third for me, but I don't know. There's something about the Legendary one I really respect.
I do too.
And it's weird because I always flip between which is my favorite design between Shin Godzilla and Legendaries.
Oh, interesting.
Mm.
Um, but oh man, yeah, watching Shin is just like again, there's just so many ideas and like risks being taken with that design and
Yeah, it
being
really
as
is.
gnarly as possible.
Yeah.
It's the
It's
most
just man.
different Godzilla.
Hmm.
Like, to the point where you're like, I can't believe Toho let him do it. They would have like probably if he had since they distribute Eva, they
Hmm.
probably gave him a lot more leeway
Mm.
than other directors. But I
Yeah.
know Ano said working with him on the Godzilla thing was awful. Like,
Consistent. At
yeah.
least it's consistent.
I think in an interview, if I remember correctly, he totally said that. Like,
Mm.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Nick. Keep going.
No, again, like yeah, there's just so much to praise and talk about.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, and it's just like there's only because there's only so much because it's tough because it's everything you'd want from a Godzilla film. Like you have awesome and interesting themes, and like same with the whole thing with the human story and with the Godzilla story.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. Yeah, it's tough to like try to say it all in a sentence, but yeah, I think it's my favorite Godzilla film. It's everything I want.
Right
Wow.
on. Right on. Ian, out of the very short
Yes.
stints of Godzilla movies you've seen, which is crazy to say because I think you've seen 4 now.
Yep.
Is like, how do you feel about this?
I would
This
say
one.
that it's in my top three. Of
Okay,
the
okay, good. It beat out, it beat out one of them.
yes, it beat out one of them. It's because here's the thing. Like I think it's an
Oh, sorry, you're
excellently done
roboting.
film.
Sorry,
Oh,
can you repeat that, Ian? You were roboting for a minute.
I respect the work of this film. I think that
Mhm.
it's a really thoughtful movie, and it's got a lot of really interesting things to say and do. And then Anno, I think just he's been working towards this his whole career in a certain sense. Like he was made to make a Godzilla in a certain way.
That and would make the Ultraman and like Shin Kamen Rider films as well.
Oh, that's
Which,
true.
like, his first student film was him being Ultraman. Like, if people don't remember.
um, but I'd say that for my personal taste, I still have Final Wars is just like
I figured. Yeah.
I want I want a movie that's more play than serious discussion when it
You
comes to
like
Godzilla.
that 2000s schlock, man.
I love that Matrix coat mutant fights. Yeah, man. What about you?
um, yeah, no, like I mentioned, it's one of my favorite Godzilla movies. Over, I can't over exaggerate how much, like, as a child, I felt watching this in theaters. How just taken by all the surprises and still being like left
Mm,
in wonder, feeling that same sense of wonder and like fear that you feel
yeah,
seeing that Godzilla on screen.
yeah.
It's one of my favorites, or no, it probably is my favorite. Like, probably beats out Final Wars. Like I said, Final Wars is a very nostalgic blanket for me. It's very comfort, uh,
Hmm.
and I love that movie. I can watch it any day of the week. It's just for fun. But
Hmm.
this is the one that I think left such a lasting impression on me that I'm still thinking about it like 8 years later. That I
Mm.
had like no
Right.
hesitation to just go. I woke up, did everything I needed to, and go. All right, time to watch Shin Godzilla. Can't wait. Just super.
Right.
Just yep. Nope. Gonna do it. Gonna rewatch it. which takes a lot nowadays as my time has become very limited for stuff.
I get you.
But yeah, all right, so that's good. Let's get into the denouement. What does everyone recommend? Any recommendations, having watched this movie, of any other piece of media that they feel like
Mm.
people would enjoy watching it?
Uh, I think a great one. If you're someone who watched Shin Godzilla and really enjoyed yourself, try the Rebuild series. I think
Interesting.
it's a good kind of mediation between Anno's, like, it's Anno's own world. It's his own original
Yeah.
creations and things like that. But it's also like it's if you're looking for something that's a very good drama that has giant monster fights,
It's very much so.
it's a great one.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Nick?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Definitely recommend that. I think, like, honestly, I would recommend after watching this to watching the first one because I think
I would
that's the
also
close
recommend that.
relation.
Yeah.
Mm,
There's a
mm,
close relation. I would say that, any of Wano's like early, like even stuff with Ultraman has similar
Mm-hmm.
themes because it is just because in a way, like it's kind of like a full circle thing of like you have someone in creating art who pretty much had
Mm-hmm.
like full reins and being able to just create his own interpretation of something he loved.
Yeah.
Same with
yeah.
Ultraman. So I think Ultraman would be an interesting like, and same with
Hair.
Shin Comrade, just like another one. Yeah, just seeing like another interesting interpretation of this known media for so
Mhm.
long.
Yeah.
So yeah, you do that.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Uh,
Uh,
I would recommend a couple things. I mentioned the video of the puppet, I feel like earlier, but for Shin
mhm,
Godzilla, the puppet they
Mhm.
never
mhm.
used, which should have been
Yeah.
on extra on the Blu-ray, but whatever. It's fucking amazing. What a crazy build. Like, holy shit, it's wild to look at so much. So
Yeah.
go check out the video about using that and like what they didn't use, how they chose not to use it in the movie after all, which must have been a
Mm,
tough choice because I feel like Ano, who's such a stickler for the originals while using his own interpretation, that was probably a really hard choice not to use a puppet or like a suit
yeah.
for Shin Godzilla. But I think in the end, it may have been the right choice. But it is a shame that you don't get to, because it's great. That thing's nuts. I would also recommend the 1958 film if you're if you want to see less bureaucratic side of a monster movie and more like more human story of a monster
Mhm.
movie and how the people are handling a situation like that. I would highly recommend The Host,
Oh
which is
yeah.
one of my favorite movies of all time, and is as much of a Godzilla fan I am, is my favorite monster movie.
Mm,
The Host is all about that, just what the actual people are going through. Uh, Directed by
yeah.
the same director of Memories of Murder and Parasite. Highly
A
recommend
Bong
that movie.
Joon-ho. Yeah. Yeah.
Bong Joon-ho,
Yeah.
yeah. That's how I found out about it. With that, so when Parasite came out, I went, "Oh, it's the director of The Host. I can't wait to watch uh, that movie." The Host is one of my favorite movies of all time.
It's really good. It is.
That's one I would like to do another thing on. It has one of, if not my favorite scene in any piece of like in any movie.
The tracking shot. It's a good tracking
No, the
shot.
funeral scene.
Oh. Oh yes. Also that.
The
Yes.
tracking scene's really good, but I love that funeral scene so goddamn much. I
Yeah.
sometimes just show it to people out of context. Just just to be like, look how fucking crazy this shot is. Like, think about everything that has to happen in this one still shot. Like,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
oh, and it's hilarious. That shot's hilarious. Like, it's funny.
Yeah.
Which by the way was improv for what makes
Oh.
that scene funny. And he's known for not letting them do much improv. But the guy would do that one action, and once you watch the scene, you're gonna know the action.
Yeah.
And he went, "That's the scene. That makes that whole scene like the
Yeah.
way better." Fantastic movie. Go watch. And with that, I think we bring a close to this episode of what we got out of it. the Shin Godzilla episode.
Hell yeah.
Fellas, thank you for joining me and watching these 2 Godzilla movies. I cannot wait to talk about Godzilla -1 on our next one. Brand new
Heck
Godzilla.
yeah.
No
Heck yeah.
previous
Totally.
knowledge for anyone.
Super
Yep.
excited.
Super
I'm pumped,
excited.
man. Yeah.
Please look forward to that. On December 15th, it will be coming out.
Mhm.
I'm going to be watching in fucking D-box seating.
Okay.
I want to be launched out of my chair when Godzilla takes his first step on land.
For sure. For sure.
Like I've seen the first trailer and people are like launched. I'm like, I want to feel like that when I watch that Godzilla movie.
For sure. Oh man.
But yeah,
Well,
any final words before we end?
well, I'm terribly excited to see what comes next, and this is just one question. Do we know if this is even a part of a continuing continuity with the Kong and all that?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Okay.
If they've said it, I haven't heard it. I don't think it is. It takes place
Okay.
so far.
Okay.
This isn't even spoilers for the movie. This
Mhm.
was shown in the very first trailer.
Yeah.
It takes place right after the bombs.
Oh dang. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's before the first Godzilla movie, which is why it's called -1.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
All right.
terribly excited for this movie.
Very much so. Nice.
Nice.
All right, that's it. That's a podcast, I think.
We got one.
Well,
Hey,
see.
we got one for you guys. Hey,
Got
check
one
this
done.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
give
All
it a listen. In your
Hot and
ear
ready.
holes. This shit's on Spotify now. That's crazy.
Oh fuck! Hey guys.
We're slowly catching up.
Nice. Nice.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Night.
Bye.